What's up, everybody? Matt here with another Who Are They Real review with the new branding. Gotta love it, gotta love it. But today, I'm here to talk to you about the film we've been waiting for forever. We thought this day would never come. We're all excited. We're here, and let's talk about Black Widow. Where should I start with this film? I went into Black Widow hoping to see that we got a film that explored her history and had the spy action and felt like it belonged in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and felt like it wasn't just being told to be told. And ultimately, I got part of what I wanted, not what I wanted in its entirety. This film has numerous good things. If you're just looking for the super spy action, you're going to be satisfied. But if you're looking for a story that gives you just more history on who she is and some extra information about her and make her the front and center of the film, then you're going to be disappointed. That's ultimately what happened with me. I was very disappointed in that fact because ultimately I felt that Scarlett Johansson was a set piece in what should have been her own film. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted to have her in her badassery. And we get her being a badass. Don't get me wrong. We get her being a badass throughout the film at numerous points. But it just sucks that this is the film that she'll probably go out on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and not how she went out in Infinity or Endgame. And it hurts because I wanted more for her. I wanted more from this film. And I just couldn't get it. Now, don't get me wrong. She's great. Florence Pugh's great. Rachel Weisz, for the most part, great. David Harbour, probably the weakest performance out of the main four. Still very entertaining. But ultimately, this film has issues getting to the story. We truly don't have any idea what this film is about till we're maybe nearly halfway through it, which is kind of disappointing because it's just like, oh, here's this dust that helps women who are these Black Widow spies that are brainwashed be freed. And that's kind of the setup. But ultimately, it's not even the main portion of that plot. And it's messy. It's very messy. But I felt like watching this, that this was more of a film for Florence Pugh's character, Yelena, who we know via reports and whatnot will be returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Hawkeye. And it's frustrating as someone who's been such a big fan of Natasha Romanoff in the MCU that this is how I'm going to see her get sent off. Yeah, there's little things here and there like, oh, so this adds a tiny bit more emotional depth behind what she's wearing in Endgame or in Infinity War and her actions in Endgame. But ultimately, just I wasn't satisfied like I wanted to be. I left the theater and I'm like, I kind of wish this was a Disney Plus show because I would have gotten to spend more time with her and maybe I would have gotten more of what I was looking for. And I wouldn't feel that she was just a set piece in her own film because ultimately that's what it felt like to me. And Ray Winstone, one of the worst things about this film is having all these actors with their Russian accents because they're about as wishy-washy as, well, what's the worst accent in the MCU? Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda accent throughout uh, Avengers Ultron, and then later on, and so, like, you know how that kind of disappeared. You felt like the accents were disappearing and then coming back throughout multiple points of this film, and it got annoying. Um, but if you're just here to see Florence Pugh's setup film for her future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're going to be happy. If you're here hoping for just an action-packed story that has stakes, you're going to be somewhat happy. You won't be fully happy, but you'll be somewhat happy. And if you're here wanting to see a proper send-off for Natasha Romanoff, you're better off just sticking to watching Endgame. Because it just doesn't work how you wish it would. And it's sad. And I wanted more. Someone who hello, Marvel stuff here, Thor Sanders here. As someone who's been this big Marvel fan, I wanted more for this woman right here, because she's done so much for this franchise, and it sucks. There's a lot to love in this film. The action scenes are they're fun to watch, but it also feels like they're just at times thrown in there to, like, here, instead of just giving you more of what's going on, here's an action scene just thrown in here in the middle. It's like it spends so much time setting up and then throwing action in between the setup to try to keep the audience interested and engaged, that it's just not enough, or you feel like they're giving you too much. So if I'm going to be honest, I'm giving this film a 3. Black Widow is getting a 3 from me, and that's probably one of the lowest grades I've given to an MCU property. It's still better than Guardians 2 and Iron Man 3 and The Incredible Hulk and Thor Dark World. God, is it better than Thor Dark World? But it's still probably, unfortunately, in that lower tier of Marvel properties. And that's not what I wanted. I really didn't. So on this channel, we've had Chris and Connor and all them talk about, yeah, I'm feeling less excited for the Black Widow movie, and I'm sitting here banging the drum. Kevin Feige, I trust. He said that this is gonna have this large impact, and it looks like it might. Just make sure you stay for the after credit scene. But ultimately, I felt like it was a story told to set up Florence Pugh's character, Yelena. That's what it felt like. I felt like I was getting more of her origin story and finding out bits and pieces about Budapest and all that from Natasha's history. Never seeing it, but hearing about it, and I was disappointed. So, Black Widow, tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Just check it out. I want to know what all of you think about Black Widow. Signing off. This is Matt. This was another Who Are They? Real review.